Hello, and welcome to another episode of Worst Collection Ever. This is the comic book podcast where we talk about the worst comic book collection, and it just happens to belong to us. I'm Shawn, and normally Jen is with me, but Jen's going to take the week off. Stuff got away from us, so we're unable to record a full episode picking up on the Cobra Commander story that we were covering, and we look forward to finishing that. It's going to be a lot of fun, actually. I'm really enjoying it. I got the trade for it, too, so we're going to be covering more Cobra Commander. But for now, we're going to do what I normally would do for a Marvel Comics character and go into the official handbook of the Marvel Universe and pick a random selection from that. But since we're doing a G.I. Joe book, I wanted to keep it within the realm of what we're discussing. And I figure, why not talk about something with G.I. Joe? And in this case, since we're focused on the origins of Cobra Commander and Cobra-La, we will talk about Cobra-La. I had a few choices. Originally, I wanted to do Nemesis Enforcer, because he's a part of Cobra-La, and he does make a point to show up in the book. Sorry for spoilers. But there's not really a lot about him. That's the thing about G.I. Joe's, is that outside of like file cards, you don't really have big bios for a lot of characters. Some of them have a lot of history, and there's a lot of guys that just don't really have anything going on, much like some other comic book characters, but it's not as fleshed out in a way that you have like the Marvel handbook, you know, like the big book that I got, or you have like those encyclopedias for like Marvel and DC. I don't think they ever made a G.I. Joe one. I know they obviously have a lot of collections for G.I. Joe in general, and there are resources, but I just don't really have access to them. And I wanted to do something a little, it's going to be shorter, but we're still going to just talk about it because I want to make sure we get something out and you guys get to be informed. So that's how it's going to work. And we're going to use the gijo.fandom.com, or aka Joepedia, as it is known, because it basically has everything from your Wikipedias and everything like that. And I tried looking up Nemesis Enforcer, and again, not a lot about the guy. You think, I don't know, I thought he would have a bigger presence in general, but he doesn't. He doesn't really have much going on, other than the fact that he's in that movie. He's in the G.I. Joe movie, and he's also a dude with wings. And we know that to be true. So, but we will talk about Cobra-La, because this is the place that, when I brought up Jen, she thought it was a brand new thing to the book, but it's a thing where you just know it as like this plot point in the G.I. Joe movie. But there actually is a little bit of history behind it. It's strange, because I was actually looking through this here, and I was like, I didn't realize we snuck some of that stuff in. So let's get to it. So according to the Joepedia, or gijo.fandom.com, I'm being real basic here, so you can poo-poo me or whatever and give me a hard time about it, but I don't care. I just want to make sure you guys have something out there. Not that you guys couldn't look this up yourselves, but, if you didn't think to look it up yourselves, now you have something about Cobra-La. So here we go. Cobra-La is an ancient civilization that once ruled the earth, but retreated to a hideaway in caves in the Himalayas. That means that at one point, which, according to the various sources here, the actual number that I have was 160,000 years in the past when Cobra-La was the king shit. Nobody knew where they came from, and they might have been aliens. And it makes sense because they do have a very much an alien presence to what they do, and just their humanoid structures. They're not humans, but they're humanoid structures. They're more human than human, or human than humanoid.
Come in, Aaron Moss, codename Head. I have an important mission for you, son. I need you to podcast about G.I. Joe, a real American hero, the comic book series previously published for Marvel Comics, currently being put out by IDW.
Which issues, General Hawk?
Issues? What, son? You're going to cover the entire run, plus the yearbooks, special missions, order battle, everything, along with the cartoon.
Wowzers, sir. That's a mighty large mission.
That's why I'm assigning you several other Joes, as they're available to help.
And how do I report my findings?
Monthly, at our main site, gijo.headspeaks.com, on iTunes, and Stitcher Radio. Submit your report under G.I. Joe, a real American Headcast.
Anything else, sir?
You can get further information on the social medias, Facebook, Google+, Twitter, all under G.I. Joe, a real American Headcast. Dismiss, soldier.
Yes, sir. Now I know.
And knowing is half the battle.
Something quoted here, actually, I like this, in according to the Impel trading cards, which I wish I had the full set of those. I do give them away when I sell G.I. Joes. It says, some humans at the time believed them to be aliens from another planet who colonized the Earth and lived before the advent of humanity. So it went fish, dinosaurs, Cobra-La, cavemen, everything else. It says they were the children of a horrible, long-dead old god. So what we got going on now, because we are not Cobra-La people, we are a product of the new gods. So Jack Kirby had it right. But our new gods, at least as far as, I've seen, they don't look like Darkseid. I don't go to church and don't worship Darkseid. I would worship Darkseid, actually. It'd be kind of nice. Might be a cool-looking church. Anyways, the Cobra-La's Himalayan base is buried under an avalanche, and the fate of its inhabitants are unknown. Now, when you go to the G.I. Joe versus Transformers series of books, there was a series of books, I believe. I want to go back, make sure I get the date here. Yeah, G.I. Joe and the versus the Transformers from 2007. 2007 from Devil's Due. So we were mixing that up, and we decided to throw some Cobra-La in here. But in the G.I. Joe Transformers Devil's Due to do, so many millennia ago, Unicron came to Earth and threatened to devour it, but he was stopped in his tracks by the citizens of Cobra-La. Again, we're ripping off Jack Kirby. Jack Kirby, Galactus, Silver Surfer, Fantastic Four. It's all coming together here. Cobra-La used their technology to introduce a metal-eating spore that they were going to chuck at Unicron. And Unicron was like, hey, man, I'm not going to eat you guys. What you need to do is you need to, go into hiding. I don't want to see your faces when I'm floating by here every so often. I don't want to see your faces. I'll know you're out. I want to see those shades down. And you're going to watch over the development of the human race and occasionally helping it along. You're going to introduce bugs and chocolate-covered bugs, because they're really bug-based, if you noticed. If you ever watched a G.I. Joe movie, they're really into bugs. We're also going to throw Cobra Commander in your way, and it's going to be a big bummer, because that guy sucks. But this is what we're doing. And at some point, Cobra-La was supposed to call Unicron. They're going to give him a call and say, hey, man, the world is ready. The world is ready for you, and they will be your slaves. And in the meantime, we have some business here with Globulus, who we talked about. At some point, a bunch of Decepticons crashed into the Himalayas. And even though Globulus hates technology, he is the ultimate Luddite, he was like, you know what? I am going to give these robots organic pretender shells. I think that's an actual action figure. I think you can actually buy those. Those are towards the end of the line that they used. They had those in the Transformers line. And he's like, okay, cool. So we'll have those guys as our dudes. There was a point where Joe Colton, the original G.I. Joe himself, was stranded in the Himalayas on a mission, and they were picked up by the Cobra-La crew. And he was also on this mission with a guy called Atomic Man. I don't really know much about him, other than I looked him up, and he looks like he's a part of the original G.I. Joe, but he's also like Steve Austin, the $6 Million Man. So he has bionic parts. But they killed him. They messed him up. So somebody named Atomic Man could not handle Nemesis Enforcer and a bunch of crab shells. So in the present, because I guess this happened in 1978, okay? So in the present, the Cobra-La was like, hey, it's the present day, it's 2007. We've got live journals. We've got, what do we have in 2007? I don't even remember. The 2000 lates were kind of unremarkable. We got a few Saw movies under our belt. If you want, come pick us up. We're ready to be slaves. We'll see you in a bit, Unicron. But this signal they did was intercepted by G.I. Joe and the Transformers. So they went to Cobra-La, and I guess at some point, Pythona, who we also talked about last issue, she helped them out because she wasn't sure of the Decepticons, because their name is literally Deception. And they used the metal-eating spore to destroy Unicron, and Nemesis Enforcer got killed, and Optimus Prime beat up Globulus, which I kind of want to see. Moving on, we're talking about the cartoon series, particularly the movie, G.I. Joe the movie. This is all happens in the G.I. Joe the movie, where we learn about Cobra-La as a civilization that was forced to retreat because of the last ice age. They despised humans for technological and cultural reasons, probably because of the Saw movies, and they were like, you know what, at some point we're going to come back. And Globulus, much like in the comic book we talked about, but it's kind of like the reverse, where he sends out Cobra Commander to go out there and see if he can conquer the planet. He's the guy that he's going to send out there. Now, this is after Cobra Commander had a terrible accident. As you can see in the movie, he gets real messed up, and he ends up 20 eyes in my head, like the Misfits song, from like that spore that blows up in his face. That thing freaks me the fuck out, dude. We're going to talk about this movie at some point, and more with me and Jen. I want to see Jen. Jen's got to see it. It's going to be wild. But he's out there in the world wearing his gimmick. And the problem is that, Cobra Commander starts Cobra, but then Cobra just keeps failing because G.I. Joe is there to save the day. We also find out that that Globulus, or somebody related to Globulus, used a creature that was implanted into the mind of Dr. Mindbender to give them the idea to create Serpentor, because Cobra Commander is such a jabroni. Okay? So basically in the movie, Globulus creates a spore that'll turn humanoids, not just humans, but I guess other human-like creatures on Earth maybe Sasquatch, could turn them into mindless animals. We're going to get real hardcore with that. And he's going to use the broadcast energy transmitter to shoot. I think they shoot the spores up into space, and then they cook they power the spores so they ripen, and then all the spores explode and they come rain down. All the stuff rains down to Earth, and it turns us all into zombies. But there's a whole big fight going on trying to get that thing back, and they capture it because Falcon fucks up and Pythona gets it. It's a whole thing. I'm not going to recap the movie. Go see it for yourself. Because, unfortunately, this ties right to the Cobra-La thing. This is kind of meant about not having a lot to talk about, because I just don't want to recap the movie. Eventually, Cobra-La is defeated because there's a big fight in Cobra-La, and they're about to launch this thing, and Falcon redeems himself by stopping I think what they do is they launch him into space. Okay, they launch him into space, but then they reactivate the spores, and they cook the spores up into space. And then we don't really know what happens after that, because I think they just beat up all the Cobra-La people and all the bugs and everything, and then everything's okay, because the movie just ends. The movie just ends with Doc being like, "Hey, Duke's gonna live, even though he totally died." And so I guess they have So according to the cartoon, it was 40,000 years of history. Nonetheless, they are very knowledgeable in biotechnology, and you have bugs that they train to be bridges. Look, I know a lot of people don't like Cobra-La, and they have a problem with it being such a science fiction-y thing in the property that's supposed to be more military-based. I don't care. I think it's just dandy. I like seeing weird stuff like that. And I actually liked it a lot, liked that movie a lot. Or maybe I'll say I liked it a lot when I last saw it. When I see it again, I probably won't like it as much. So let's put a pin in that. But yeah, I guess just some facts about this is that the Cobra-La was named after Shangri-La from the 1933 Lost Horizon novel by James Hilton. And in the limited series, they called the story Black Horizon as a tribute to that, I guess. And the Cobra-La name was a placeholder, and then they just decided to use it. But nobody really likes it. Larry Hama hated it. Just hardcore fans really disliked it. From a action figure standpoint, you only had Globulus, Nemesis, Enforcer, and the Royal Guard. Royal Guard is actually a pretty underrated figure. Unfortunately, he's got one of those very tiny antenna accessories that you can lose very easily. But it's a very interesting figure. It's a body type that you don't normally see for that, especially for those characters at that time. It just was very a very bulky armor, but it was still the O-ring. So I liked that a lot. Nemesis Enforcer, he's as big as he can be. He's about the same size as the other Joes. I think they could have maybe gave him a bigger torso. It doesn't really do it justice what he looks like in the cartoon. And actually there's a G.I. Joe classified that I have that really knocks it out of the park, I think. I think they do a good job. And Globulus is the one that the top half isn't bad, because you get to do a Destro. He's got armor pieces. So you got like a Destro vibe, and you also got a Cesspool. If you remember Cesspool from the Echo Fighters, he's got that kind of vibe. I don't know. I thought his top half was great, but the bottom half is just a worm, and it doesn't fit in with the rest of your figures. You have to find another way to put it somewhere if you're a completist, and it's not keen. I kind of wish there was other options for that, but it's a pretty daring choice, at the time, just be like, hey, here's a fucking worm. But, I think that's where to cap it. I don't really have much else to say about Cobra-La other than it's full of bugs, and I don't think it's as bad as everybody makes it out to be. So thanks for listening, everybody. Find us on our socials. Find us on the YouTube at Worst Collection Ever. That's my channel. That's the channel. That's our channel. It's still my channel, but all the episodes are up there, and we're uploading them every week, including this one. Trying to make everything look nice and upload. Making it as full as possible on there. So please check it out and comment on the videos and send us emails at worstcollectionever@gmail.com, and of course anywhere you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Rate and review. We would really appreciate it. So once again, folks, thanks for listening. We'll talk again next time.